could do that.
No matter your number, I will not yield. The glory of Demacia will never fade.
Time is wasted.
Come forth. You will find honor in death.
Already there.
I've been to the void and back. You're nothing.
All in good time. The way is always the same. Already there. Time is wasted. Inevitably. The way is always the same. Inevitably.
The glory of Demacia will never fade.
The way is always the same. Make haste.
Okay.
Fire.
Inevitably. Already there. All in good time. Time is wasted. The way is always the same. The way is always the same. Yes.
I will wait for you to be better. On my wings.
Meet AI Anivia, and then tries to walk. Anivia is at level 1, this Anivia already has a really weird play to start the game with. Running out of base with just a support item, he pings the middle bush to get his team to stand in it. If no enemies are around, of course, zombie ward for more vision control. And Relentless Hunter to set up more plays. Secondaries, he has Biscuits and Time Warp to help him survive in lane, since Anivia has such a limited health pool. This kinda removes that weakness. He also always takes double magic resist in his runes, which I think is a bit troll, he even does it.
Beating heart holds violence within.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
I hear whispers beneath the ice.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
The glory of Demacia will never
Minions have spawned.
Blood is corruption. Ice is purity. The cycle ends. I have seen eons of suffering.
First blood. An enemy has been slain. An enemy has been slain. Double kill.
Vile tainted things. The abyss speaks through me.
An enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain.
I will have surrender. Don't be fooled. A beating heart holds violence within. I hear whispers. A world in perfect stillness. Life is corruption. Ice is purity.
An enemy has been slain. Killing spree.
I have seen eons of suffering.
Instead, his start item is Imperial Anti-Healing with Oblivion.
My skies dark. Endless cold, endless peace.
An enemy has been slain.
The abyss speaks through me. I will have surrender.
Rampage. An enemy has been slain. down.
A world in perfect stillness.
An enemy has been slain.
Life is corruption. Ice is purity. The cycle ends.
An enemy has been slain.
I have seen eons of suffering.
Killing spree.
My skies dark. The abyss speaks.
An enemy has been slain.
I will have serenity. A beating heart will silence within.
Rampage. Shut down.
Beneath the ice. A world in perfect stillness. Life is corruption. Ice is purity.
Killing spree. Your team has destroyed a turret. Turret plating will fall soon.
My skies darken.
Your team has destroyed a turret. An ally has been slain. Shut down. You have slain an enemy.
The abyss speaks through me.
Rampage.
I will have serenity. Snuff out the fire. A beating heart holds violence within. I hear whispers inside.
Your team has destroyed a turret.
A world in purpose.
An enemy has been slain.
Life is corruption. Ice is purity.
An enemy has been slain. You have slain an enemy. Killing spree. Killing spree. Shut down. Your team has destroyed a turret.
My skies darken. Endless cold, endless. The abyss speaks through me.
An enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain. Killing spree. An enemy has been slain. Your team has destroyed a turret. An ally has been slain. Rampage. Your team has destroyed a turret.
witnessing eons of suffering. My skies darken. Endless cold, endless. The abyss speaks through me.
An enemy has been slain. Enemy killing spree. An enemy has been slain. Rampage. Double kill. Your team has destroyed a turret. Your team has destroyed an inhibitor. Your team has destroyed a turret. Your team has destroyed an inhibitor. Your team has destroyed a turret. Your team has destroyed a turret. An enemy has been slain. Shut down. Victory!
Orb is a good option as well. You don't really need any more items. In Korea, these games are already over by this point. Your goal in solo queue is not to scale up as a support, it's to overwhelm the enemies around the map and continuously get your team ahead until you have an unbeatable lead. Every game he bans Thresh. Any hook support will be good against Anivia as she has no dash to dodge them. Ideally you want to pick this with a self-reliant AD carry who won't die 1v2 when you need to teleport away. Your real goal is to win the 3v3 topside by turning it into a 4v3, so your AD carry needs to be able to stay alive. His runes Predator of course, Zombie Ward for more vision control, and Relentless Hunter to set up more plays. Secondaries he has Biscuits and Time Warp to help him survive in lane, since Anivia has such a limited health pool. This kinda removes that weakness. He also always takes double magic resist in his runes, which I think is a bit troll. He even does it against enemy teams where only one of them is AP. Attack speed though is good as it lets him proc his support item more often, but maybe take one armor or health rune instead. Maybe take one armor or health rune instead. Proc his AP. Attack speed though is good as it lets him proc his support item more often, but maybe take one armor or health rune instead. Kennen is the cute rat of League of Legends. A good Kennen hides out of vision, jumps into 5 people, and instantly wins a game, whereas a bad Kennen will have the exact same picture in their mind, but is not quite able to execute it. Today I have found a player who has hit rank 29 Challenger, EU West, against all the odds, using a laptop that can barely run the game, on a champion that may not be completely off meta, but he is playing in an off meta role, with one of the lowest pick rates in the game. So the sponsor forgot to send over any details for this ad, but I thought we'd just do it anyway. So this video is sponsored by Porofessor. If I was the creator of the best companion app for League of Legends, what would I want to show people? I should probably explain that Porofessor is an overlay app that gives you a ton of information without even having to alt-tab out of the client. As a sponsor, I'd probably tell myself to play some games to test it, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wow, okay, yes, this app is really useful. So I should probably mention something about how in Champ Select you can just click this button and instantly get the correct runes right to your client. When you get in game, Porofessor collects data on all your opponents, like how good they are at their champion, if they are an aggressive or a passive player. You get a team comp analysis showing what your team does well and where your win condition is. It's like having a challenger player sitting next to you telling you to go gank this guy because he overextends a lot. Then you gank him, and then you win the game. Another cool thing I found, Porofessor lets you compare your play to the average of your rank. So if I compare myself to the average diamond player, it shows what I need to improve to climb past them. And then when we get to the end of the ad, I'd probably end it with a message like, Porofessor is completely free. Download it at the link in the description. I think they'd like that. Our player today is named Maitre Splinter. Yes, when this guy became a Kennen main, he did change his name to Master Splinter as a tribute to his second favourite rat, right after Kennen, Splinter, the wise old trainer from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which was a show he watched a lot of growing up. And also, yes, he is French. His first memory of League was when he was 9 years old, watching his brothers play in the beta, and wishing he understood the game enough to play. He joined the game at the age of 11, around season 4, finally ready to join his brothers. He started by playing as many champions as he could. At the time, this was just for fun, but when he looks back on this now, he realised that this helped him gain so much knowledge about matchups and champion weaknesses that he could exploit. In season 5, he joined ranked with one goal in his mind: impress his brothers and reach their skill level. He started by duoing with a friend, and he continued first timing champions, reaching gold 5. Again, he did not wish to one-trick or start tryharding, so he kept playing every role, any champion, which again prepared him for his future. He knew a lot about jungling without even trying to play it, and it was the same for all of the other roles. In season 6, he had began to love off-meta picks. His first invention was Triforce Leona, which actually brought him up to Platinum. Season 7, Splinter kept trying new things: Nidalee, Lee Sin, and some Kennen. When he was playing duo, he struggled to move above Platinum, but solo he was having a huge amount of success. In season 8, he decided to move on from his duo. He was now too high rank for them to even play together, so it was time to go solo. This was incredibly useful for Splinter, with him immediately hitting Diamond for the first time. There was one other problem happening during all of this that I have not mentioned. Splinter was playing every day with a very old laptop. Ever since season 4, he had been playing on this machine, with his game dropping to 20 FPS in every single team fight. And after every game, he had to turn off his PC and reboot it to get it ready for the next game. So what do you do when your equipment is so bad you struggle to contribute to fights? Well, what he did was find a champion, where this doesn't matter. He searched his champion pool for a solution. He liked Lee Sin, but couldn't reliably do his combos on this laptop. Then he found Kennen, a champion that has a very simple combo in fights. All he needed to do was flash in, ult, and Zhonya's, and he would look like he was a pro player. Even on 20 FPS, he could finally start contributing to team fights. So season 10 begins. He has a plan. He would play Kennen, a very unpopular champion that he felt deserved more love, and he wanted to show people why Kennen mid was pretty good. Splinter started to spam games, playing every day. By October, he had over 700 games of Kennen, fully focusing on learning everything about the champion, and with this he finally hit Master for the first time. When he hit Master, he lost all motivation. He was just a student struggling through class every day. He had hit Master, but Grandmaster and Challenger were a whole different story. He stopped playing rank completely and left his account. When season 11 started, Splinter came back. He had a new goal: become the #1 ranked Kennen. Challenger is great, but he knows everything about this champion, so he knew this was achievable. In just 3 weeks and 67 games, he hit rank 1. Since he had done this so fast, and had once again hit his highest rank, he knew he could keep going up. Next, he hit Grandmaster, top 700 EU West. Then he hit a streak of bad losses, dropping coming back to master. His mental never shifted. He kept his positivity up, always saying good luck, have fun in chat every single game, and remaining upbeat after losses. 3 more long months of grinding passed, and in May, he finally reached Challenger for the first time. He now remains in Challenger, still climbing, recently hitting 1000 LP, rank 29 on the EU ladder. All the way up to Challenger, Splinter's only focus was to make sure by the end of the game he had played his best, and was left with no regrets. He was constantly either winning the game, or being the MVP of the losing team, always being positive in chat and admitting to mistakes to ensure his teammates were not tilting. So why does he play Kennen mid instead of top? Well, to put it simply, Kennen top is much harder at the moment. Splinter's opinion is that Season 11 top lane matchups for Kennen are all difficult. All top laners are better than Kennen in lane, especially bruisers, and even if their champion isn't better than Kennen, they can just buy Mercury treads early, once again becoming better than him. Kennen is picked in pro play to counter specific top laners, so that means he's very bad to one trick. In 1v1's top lane, Kennen gets outscaled fast, with champions like Jax or Fiora trading well with him in lane, and then destroying him later on. Splinter plays Kennen mid instead, to have as much impact on the game as possible. Mid lane matchups are easier, and he always has the option to join fights, top or bot lane. If he plays mid lane, then he gets one of these OP bruiser frontliners on his team, rather than stealing their spot with Kennen. In lane at level 1, Kennen has one goal: get priority for Scuttle Crab at 3 minutes 15 seconds. So he wants his wave to hit tower around this time, so Kennen can leave, join his jungler, and start a fight against the enemy jungler. Instantly, he has a game plan, but how does he do it? If you have more wave clear, then your best choice is to hard push wave with E at level 1, last hitting and shoving. Once you get level 2, use W on all the minions for even more wave clear, again pushing to tower over and over again, getting you lane priority for Crab. Alternatively, you can also let the enemy push and force them into a bad situation. Here's a great example of using the enemy to create priority. Kennen uses E on the melees at level 1. He can't push against Twisted Fate, so he lets it push in. The wave hits Kennen's tower, staying alive long enough for his wave to focus fire. So this means for the next wave, all of Kennen's minions will focus fire on one of the enemy melees, killing it fast and slow pushing. This continues through the wave, guaranteeing Kennen will now get priority. Ignore the fighting, it doesn't matter, the wave is still pushing. The next wave comes, Kennen's wave is still huge, so it pushes to tower. It's 3 minutes 15, Kennen runs over to Crab and helps his jungler. By letting TF push and seeing his minions focus fire, he knows he will have priority for Crab, so he just lets it happen. As Kennen mid, you start Doran's Blade. You have no mana costs. You should be playing very aggressive in these early levels. You want to be poking with Q, looking for free auto attacks and stuns where you can. Splinter even goes for trades at level 1. He ease forwards, which gives him extra attack speed. With the range and the Doran's Blade damage, it's hard for enemies to win a long trade against Kennen, so you can really pressure people here. In a good matchup, Kennen keeps doing this, keeps pressuring, so of course you need to think about the enemy jungler. Here are some good ward spots challengers use to make sure they always see the enemy jungler before they gank. You cannot just have one spot for every game. You need to track the enemy jungler. Start by looking at the laners, see who's late to lane. You now know where the enemy jungler started. If he's going to cheese gank you at level 2, you know this will happen within the first 30 seconds, so play away from the side he starts on. If instead he paths towards his other buff, you know which side he's going to gank from, and that it will happen from about 2 minutes 30 onwards. So use a ward on that side to spot him early. Then use your Q to farm at long range to stay safe. If you are overextending, make sure you save E to give you the ability to zoom away if you get ganked. During laning phase, Kennen wants to be using Electrocute as much as he can. If you can do this a couple of times, you're ready to get a solo kill. Your W passive is the most important part of your kit here. Ideally, Kennen will always be ready to land a stun. If you are being engaged on, you need to stun and walk away to get out safely. If you are going for a kill, you need to lead with a stun to set up your jungler. The easiest way to get this to happen is to auto to get your stun ready. E forwards to hit the enemy, auto attack, and W to stun them, then Q afterwards for damage. This kind of combo means you don't need to land any skill shots. Once you hit level 6, it is time to go for a kill. If the enemy mid laner is squishy and killable, a 1v1 is a good option. It's really hard to mess up a 1 versus 1 kill. An ideal combo would be poking them down, using E to speed in, ulting and killing them with your WQ. You use your E first as your speed, but it also gives you extra attack speed, letting you auto more to get an extra stun. If you can hit someone with your E, it regens energy, so then you can use your full combo afterwards. Stay on top of the enemy with your ult as it ramps up in damage on each enemy the longer they stay inside it. Otherwise, if you can't get a 1 versus 1, look to roam. Before you go for a roam, always try and push in your wave to the enemy tower. If you leave lane in Season 11 without doing this, you lose multiple plates, which are worth just as much as a kill, so E through the wave and W to clear it, then move. Don't forget, when leaving lane, make sure you stack up your auto attack stun, ready for a gank. This is the most reliable way to stun enemies in the fight, especially if there is a wave blocking your Q. You don't need to worry about the wave because you don't need to land the Q. Just run in at the carry, E, W, auto attack, and stun them for a kill. A bad Kennen would always try and hit Q here, and end up missing out on a kill. Your other option is to teleport. Splinter takes teleport every game because Kennen is so good with it. A single flank TP at any point in the game with Kennen can destroy a lane and instantly get a huge lead for your team. The best way to use it for kills is bot lane, getting a flank TP on multiple people. Bot lane is easy because they will be level 6 much later than you are. Top lane, you will ideally be counter ganking with teleport, saving your top laner and turning it around for a double kill. In mid game, you should now have your core item, Hextech Rocket Belt. By this point, your goal should be at least 8 CS per minute, and you should have tried to make an impactful play like a solo kill or a roam. Rocket Belt is great on all AP assassins like Kennen. He wants to engage and hit lots of enemies, so an extra dash is always worth it. Even Akali is now buying Rocket Belt, showing that you can never have too much mobility. In mid game, you have two options. Either go to the side lane and look for a 1 vs 1, or group with your team to fight for an objective. How do you choose? Well, Splinter goes for 1 vs 1 in the side lane if he has a lead on the enemy. He wants to keep getting as much XP and gold as possible in these waves, then tries to force a kill when he knows where the enemy jungler is. If you're ahead, this kill is easy, but if you're behind, grouping up may be a better option. If you're grouping, then ideally you would have Zhonya's here as well. It is vital on Kennen for after he engages, and you'll see why. If there is an important objective on the map, like a useful dragon or a baron, and you have flash available, then you should buy a sweeper and force a team fight. Kennen with flash rocket belt is an unstoppable engage that can cross a full screen, kill 5 people and win a game. Splinter tries to use this combo as a surprise, covering a huge distance, reaching the backline, doing as much damage as he can, then using the back as a surprise, tries to use this combo as a surprise, covering a huge distance, reaching the backline, doing as much damage as he can, then using Zhonya's to stay alive once enemies start focusing him. As long as you've gone in with your team nearby, this will let your team catch up, finish off kills and win the fight. But Splinter also has a couple of special teamfight strategies that have really helped him climb. Instead of going for this flashy 1v9 engage, sometimes he plays more patient. If his team has a range advantage, so stuff like a Jace top or an Ezreal AD carry, he just lets his team poke the enemies. They are now forced into making a decision. Either they have to leave to stop being poked, or more likely, what's going to happen 99% of the time, they will start a fight. Once the enemy engages onto your teammates, Kennen comes in with ult, and uses it to peel for his carries. This is really good when you're behind on Kennen, because the enemies won't know what's going to happen. I've watched about 40 of this Kennen's replays and talked to him for about a month. I still would not know how this fight turns out. It's almost certain that when you use an AoE high damage ult like Kennen's to disengage, it will work. So Kennen disengages, your team peels away, enemies are overextended, and you can chase them down for kills. This is the kind of play only a one trick would really have enough experience to experiment with, because engaging with the Kennen ult is just so good. Additionally, flanking on Kennen is very important. Flank TPs in fights are the best way to set this up. Like in this fight, Kennen TPs to a ward quite far away, walks behind and surprises enemies in a choke point, instantly winning the fight. You do not always have to be teleporting right behind enemies. In fact, the best teleports are way out of vision, then sprinting with home guards to cut off the enemy's escape. But you don't always need to teleport to get these flanks off. Often Splinter just splits from his team to find a flank spot, using Sweeper to clear any vision and sitting in a bush waiting for a fight. This is especially good if you're playing against a disengage support, like a Lulu or a Janna, because if they see you coming, they'll spam their disengage and ruin your fight. If you surprise them, they are stunned and dead before they can do anything. Kennen ult, then flash also works to give enemies even less reaction time. This can be used over a wall, for example, to enter a fight with your ult already active, ready to set up a big burst on multiple enemies. In late game, Kennen does pretty much the same thing. The main difference is that his side lane 1v1s are now much more difficult and should be avoided, preferring only team fights. You do not want to completely ignore side lanes, you need to be managing the waves well, collecting the XP and gold from them, continuing to farm. If you are not doing this and the enemies are, you will fall behind in levels, items, and constantly end up having pressure coming towards your base. The later the game goes, the more important your flash is, so tell your team you need it for team fights. Then stall until it's up and go for a massive engage. Here are some Kennen tips directly from Splinter, so you can start playing like a challenger player right away. Do not overuse your E ability. If you don't hit an enemy with it, you don't get the regen, and so it ends up costing a ton of energy. The cooldown is long and it's your main safety tool, so you don't want to waste it. With Kennen ult, don't forget it makes you tanky. Every time you level it up, it gives you more armor and magic resist when you use it. This is part of the reason why buying health on Kennen is good. You're getting resistances from ult, so health makes sure you use them effectively. Splinter wrote a ton of matchup advice for us, so let me simplify it. The easiest matchup for Kennen mid are assassins, Zed, Katarina, Echo. Kennen can poke them easily in lane and match their damage in fights. To me this sounds incredibly positive, and should be very encouraging to new Kennen players. The easy matchups are exactly what is common in solo queue right now. Zed, Katarina, Akali. These assassins are the highest pick rate out of anyone. The hardest matchups are control mages, like Orianna, Syndra, Ryze, and Annie. Control mages are universally thought to be in a bad spot right now. Even pro players are not picking Syndra or Orianna because of banned item synergies. And remember, matchups only really matter in lane. Kennen will destroy a Syndra in a fight or a 1 vs 1, so maybe Kennen is the perfect champion to break this meta. The only counters missing are Aurelia and Nocturne. They can fight you constantly and CC you to get a kill. He bans Aurelia every game to avoid this. Nocturne mid is very uncommon, but maybe worth dodging the game. His skill order is interesting. He starts E almost every game for damage, and for the bonus attack speed to help with harass. If you're really good at hitting skill shots, then maxing Q first is ideal for most damage. If you're bad at skill shots, or if you're in a tough matchup, W max first can even be better, for more reliable damage and wave clear. For his build, he follows a very similar one every game. Start Doran's Blade almost every time. Doran's Shield is good against control mages to lower their poke. Early on he likes to base for Dark Seal and boots. This gives a good snowballing option and mobility for roams. First item should always be Hextech Rocket Belt. It is vital on Kennen for mobility and engages, as well as safety. You can buy components like Seeker's Arm Guard or Oblivion Orb early if they're needed for your matchup. Sorcerer Shoes he buys every game. Next is Zhonya's for fights and Void Staff for extra damage. These items will be perfect almost every game, setting Kennen up to carry even against tanks. After this your build is situational. Buy Royalize if your team needs more CC, Banshee's Veil if you need to engage through enemies' disengage abilities, Demonic Embrace against enemies with lots of health, or if you just want some more health yourself, Morellenomicon if you're against lots of healing, or just Rabadons if you need flat damage. Again, he has very specific runes that he takes. He loves Electrocute instead of Airy. Airy is better if you poke a lot in lane, but then becomes worse than Electrocute once you're out of lane. His most common runes are these: high damage from Domination Tree with extra mobility from the Sorcery Tree. In melee matchups he takes this page, letting him play aggressive and not die to all-ins. Against poke like control mages he swaps to this page, with Doran's Shield first to handle the poke. Against heavy roaming champions like Twisted Fate he even has another page, Minion Dematerializer, to help him push waves and then follow them. Thanks again to Porofessor for sponsoring this video, check it out in the description. Make sure you check out Splinter as well on his social media linked below. He would also like to shout out GeoPride on Twitter, as he has learnt a lot about Kennen from this pro top laner. Meet Zodra, an Ornn support main who hit EUS Master. But this is not just Ornn support. He has a special new build that turns Ornn from a full tank frontliner into an item crafting, CC dodging, healing support. In a meta full of enchanters and healers dominating bot lane, our player followed the classic motto: if you can't beat them, join them. When he couldn't climb with his tank build, he swapped to a special healer build, which also has some great damage, and of course huge engages for fights. With Ornn support you also get thousands of gold worth of stats whenever he upgrades his teammates' items, making him a super high value support pick. And this guy is very special, having some very unique minion tricks to surprise enemies and get early kills. And we also found a huge Ornn bug that will affect worlds if Riot don't fix it before the tournament starts. Let me show you how it works. But first, let me tell you about a League of Legends app that can literally help you win more games. This is Porofessor, a League of Legends overlay app that's just like having a challenger support by your side. And unlike some supports, Porofessor will never roam and leave you behind. It's always with you, helping, in-game and out of game. From automatic rune selection in Champ Select, custom builds right in your in-game shop, giving you the best build with no need to tab out, summoner spell tracking, showing all of the enemies and their spells, and whenever someone uses one you can click on the in-game overlay to start a timer, which exactly tracks the cooldown, with this feature also syncing up with the other 8 million Porofessor users. And of course there are loads of other features, like stats analysis after game, pro builds, jungle camp timers, and so much more. So before this ad is over, and Chime reaches the Nexus, you can download it right now from the link in the description. All it takes is a couple of clicks, and right away you'll have all of these new tools to win more games. And best part, it's free, so there's no downside to giving it a try. Make sure you download it now. Back to Zodra and Ornn support, a player with a story that started all the way down in Bronze. In Season 5, after hitting level 30, Zodra quickly dropped into Bronze. A huge huge distance from Master Tier where we see him today. Right away, his friends at the time started to make fun of him, and so of course he had to get out at all costs. Funnily, his solution to this was not to pick a carry champion, or even a carry role. He became a Thresh main, and after struggling his way out of bronze, he then started shooting up in rank in support. By season 6, he had hit platinum with a 55% win rate on Thresh, then making his first Thresh montage. But he only got into off-meta in season 7. He loved off-meta picks, like all of us, but more than that, he loved off-meta ways to play the game, not following the standard rules of League, and instead finding weird mechanics that he could use to get wins. The first of these was when he would play Scion support, and suicide super early on to Dragon to help his jungler get it for free. By season 8 he had a new trick, playing support Anivia and using his wall to block minion movement and set up really good waves for his teammate, and even finding a way to use the wall to block Blitzcrank hook, using this crazy trick to stop the hook from working and remove one of Anivia's worst matchups. The tricks continued in season 9 where he became a flex queue player, actually hitting Challenger in this mode, playing solo. As he climbed higher and higher in this mode, his champions like Thresh, Anivia and Scion got much harder to play. He would throw out a hook and the enemy would easily dodge it every time, so he needed to find a new support he could pick against the best players and never miss a skill shot. This champion was Ornn, with his huge AoE knockups on his E and ultimate, the ability to create terrain with his Q to block enemies, and even the bizarre width of his W that would hit anyone in melee range. Ornn was perfect. Zotra at this point was still stuck in Diamond in solo queue, but when he started playing Ornn, he would just beat players that were better than him, and in some matchups, like against hook supports, he could use his W to dodge CC, blocking the hook, and make the enemy champion completely useless. So then in season 12, Zotra finally hit master with a classic tank Ornn build in support, and then it was all ruined by the durability update. Tank supports were pretty much removed from the bot lane meta, and Ornn was one of the victims. So this was when Zotra realized the dark path he must take, to turn Ornn into a hybrid, tank, healing enchanter, and clearly it paid off, hitting master once again, and becoming the number 12 Ornn in the world, the only one in the top 100 who even played it in support. So I guess we can call him the number 1 Ornn support. And at level 1, he immediately starts doing one of the coolest tricks I've ever seen in League. So minions in this game have collision, which can sometimes block players, and this annoys a lot of people. But one thing that Riot have made sure of is that players can never force minions to do anything special at level 1, as that would really break the game. So minions are ghosted as they come out of base, similar to the summoner spell, but they're able to walk through champions until they reach the lane. But unfortunately, Riot have never met Zotra, and he has found a way to get around this. This is his minion trick, a way to split up the first wave, so that one of his minions always gets to lane first, dying before the enemies can even get to it. They miss the XP, which causes a lot of confusion at level 2, so Zotra can get a level up, and enemies just don't, giving him an easy way to get early kills. The way he sets this up is really impressive. Zotra walks out of base, covering for an invade, and then at 40 seconds he walks back to his lane, standing in the center of this platform by his tower, taking his Q and aiming it at this little flower. It's very precise. When the minions arrive at 1 minute 10 seconds, he throws out a Q which splits up the first minion of the wave from the other 5. This is the minion that dies first. He follows his wave to lane, using Q again at the next tower to split the enemies up even more, and then again at the outer tower, leaving one minion to go on by itself, and the rest having to walk around his pillar. The minion arrives to lane, getting focused by the 6 enemy minions, and this means it'll die before the enemies in bot lane even notice. This is so powerful because everyone knows it takes 9 minions to get to level 2 in bot lane, so when the enemies are counting minions getting ready, they'll think they're about to get level 2 and can start fighting, but then your 9th minion dies and they just don't get it because of this trick, so they won't know what's happening until it's too late. Already at level 1, Ornn support looks pretty good. It also works on the other side of the map with a different setup, the same timing but a new place to stand and also aim your Q, again using his Q at each of the towers. So then when he finally gets to lane, he's just waiting for this ticking time bomb to go off. Ideally he should also throw another Q at the enemy backline minions, just to keep the wave even, otherwise the wave will quickly push into him and they might struggle to get level 2 first. So then at level 2 the fight can start, using his Q to poke the enemy and taking his his E to get the huge AoE knockup. This ability is very hard to dodge in bot lane because of how wide it is. He also maxes this ability first in most lanes, because it does a really high amount of AD. Taking his W at level 3, he now also has 400 gold, using it to buy Ruby Crystal with his passive that lets him shop in the lane, so immediately he has more power than the enemy support in a fight. Ornn is surprisingly annoying to play against in bot lane, because every time he uses his Q, the pillar will stay there for 4 seconds, so this gives him a lot of time to engage with E if he wants to, or just leave it there for pressure. The Q only has a 9-second cooldown, and the pillar is there for 4, so the enemies are pretty much always under pressure from this ability. His ideal combo is Q to slow, E to knock up, and then W after that, auto-attacking the enemy to proc the brittle for extra damage, and igniting to get an early kill. This is the safest combo for bot lane, and it's a bit different to top lane. By the way, he can also take W at level 2 if he's against a hook support, as this makes them completely useless for the whole lane. Another great advantage Ornn has as support is in this clip, where his AD carry bases to buy some items, but Ornn doesn't have to. He can just buy his items using his passive shop in the lane, which gives him extra time to roam and make plays. He doesn't have to waste any time running back to base, and he's always able to stay at maximum strength, spending his gold as soon as he gets it, never having to join a fight with loads of gold in his pocket. Then at level 6, Ornn gets his huge AoE knockup slowing ultimate. This ability in top lane is good for chasing enemies down, but in bot lane it just destroys so many champions. He pulls ult through the enemy bot lane to land a slow, then headbutts it right back into them to knock up and stop any of their escapes, following up with Q to set up another knockup with his E. Immobile enemies have no way out, and even enemies with dashes are still going to struggle to dodge all of this CC. You are very likely to be able to get a kill at level 6. The best way to ult is around this distance, so not quite maximum range, but not close range either. This distance also gives him enough time to catch up to the ult, and follow up with the extra CC. He can also do this trick, ulting one enemy and then swapping target to surprise them. This Tristana gets ulted to get knocked in the air, then knocked in the air again, hit with W, and then her jump is ruined by Ornn's brittle auto attack. I'm pretty sure the auto attack even cancels her jump, since the W sets up a knockback, but either way the damage is too much for her to survive. An Ornn support is one of those pigs where if you die to him once, you're going to die to him over and over again until you lose your tower and lose the lane. It's a very snowbally pick. With such a great long range ultimate, of course Zodra has to roam. Whenever he has a window to leave lane, you can join your jungler or mid laner and use it for a long range kill. While you're roaming, you can even use this W trick to clip into some of the walls and extend the range of your warding. The best example is this one on the dragon pit. His main goal, however, is to set up a really good dragon fight, since his ultimate knockup is so strong in a choke point. If enemies start it, then he can engage for his team. He aims his ult to try and predict enemy movement, following up on the knocked up targets afterwards. But here's a great example of Ornn also being a peel support. This fight is looking like a tiny bit of a disaster. Ornn's teammates are all low health and stuck in the pit, with an ulting Swain coming right in to clean them up. But Ornn's ultimate knocks the Swain up into a full chain CC and brittle, peeling and giving his teammates time to burst the Swain to death. Clearly Ornn is not just an engager, and since this video is about him healing teammates, we should show how he plays as more of an enchanter. You may have noticed that he takes Glacial Augment. This is because of how well it works with Ornn's ultimate, giving you and your teammates more time to reach the enemy and follow up on it. But that's not the only reason. The Glacial Slow also increases based on how much heal and shield power you have. So when Ornn buys Redemption, this slow goes up from 30% to 44%, which may sound small, but it's a big difference when you stack it on top of the rest of Ornn's CC. So the healing synergy is built in from his runes. The healing isn't only useful to keep his teammates alive, but also to get more slows, more CC, and thus be better as a peeling support as well. On top of this, Zodra also often buys Anathema's Chains, which is great for making him even more tanky against a fed enemy, but also improves his CC, again making him better at peeling. This item increases your CC duration on your target, giving them 20% reduced tenacity, which gets even worse when you add on his brittle that extends CC duration. Up to this point, Ornn's been pretty normal as a support. He's got some cool tricks and a new build, but level 13 is where he completely changes. Ornn now becomes a gold generator for his team. At this level, his mythic item gets upgraded to a masterwork item, and each level he gets after this, he's able to upgrade another mythic item for his teammate. Each of these upgrades has a rough gold value of about 1,000 gold worth of additional stats. And on top of this, Ornn for some reason also gets 4% bonus HP, armor, and magic resist every time he upgrades one, making him even tankier just for free. So the later the game goes, use. This support keeps increasing your gold lead by a crazy amount, which is never a bad insurance policy to have in solo queue. He focuses on upgrading his most fed teammates mythic first, and then any of his carries. And don't forget that your upgrade resets the item cooldown, so for example if your AD carry uses Gale Force before a big fight, upgrading it will reset the cooldown, giving them an extra dash to use in this really important moment. Ornn is a fighting champion, so teamfights we all know are quite simple. If Ornn's team is behind, he can ult from far away in a side lane and try and set up picks, or if he's ahead he wants to get into enemies' faces and get a big ult, buying time for his team to dive. This is his most impactful part of the game. Earlier I mentioned a game-breaking Ornn bug that is likely to affect worlds if Riot don't fix it. This bug involves Ornn's ultimate and the slow that it gives. Ornn in pro play is one of those champions you see get picked, and often even the worst teams start to win lots more games, for seemingly no reason. Well, the bug that we have found is that Ornn ultimate with the first cast is meant to slow depending on how far it travels. So if you hit the enemy from the furthest distance, they're meant to be slowed about 40%, and this should give you more time to catch up to them, whereas if you ult in melee range, they only get slowed by 10%, making it a bit easier for the enemies to escape if you're already on top of them. The problem is that none of this works, and Ornn's ultimate always slows for the maximum amount, regardless of how far away he is. The percentage slow this is scales depending on level, so it's different at level 6 compared to 11 and then 16. But because of this bug, the champion is much better at engages than he really should be, and so I'd say Riot should probably fix this. And here's one funny, maybe useless tip that you can use. Ornn can W through a wall just enough to get into a hex portal, letting him get a surprise escape from the pit, or maybe even get a flank onto enemies. Giving this pick a rating is surprisingly hard, and one of the reasons for this is that Zodra is not the best at playing macro, which is something he also admitted during our interview. When you play a support, roaming and making plays is one of your main jobs. All of the challenger players do it, but Ornn as a champion is directly against this, being quite slow early game, and also just loving getting XP, because of how he loves getting to level 13 to get item upgrades. And this immobility continues later into the game. Just like any tank support in solo queue, if you get a bad engage, or go in too far, you are going to die in that fight. So you do get punished for any mistake that you make, unlike a champion like Janna or Soraka, who can sit back safely and still contribute. I believe that these macro problems, and the mobility of the champion, are the main reasons why Zodra is not yet Grandmaster or higher, but the pick itself has a very low base skill requirement, with your ult and E knockup being as good as most engaged supports, and your upgrades being much more valuable than pretty much any other support's passive. So in general, it's a solid pick that I would say not a single player has perfected, so who knows how much better this pick can be. For his healing, tanky Ornn build, it starts off quite standard. Steel shoulder guards, buying early ruby crystal in lane to get easier fights, into his mythic first item for the tankiness. Even Shroud is another good option as well, being much cheaper. Then in getting boots, of course going for tank, into redemption for the healing, and also the extra glacial augment slow. Anathemas is good here as well if one of the enemies is fed, reducing their damage and letting you CC them for even longer to shut them down, or even Frozen Heart if you're against lots of auto attackers. Then buying a rare item, Vigilant Wardstone. It's very cheap and Ornn has a special interaction with it. His passive tank stats that he gets from upgrades are multiplied by this item instead of just added. The maths is complicated, but basically it's just very good on Ornn. Knight's Vow if he needs to protect the team teammate, Mikhail's for another healing option, and to remove a big CC, or any of these tank items are great as well if you need to be more of a frontline. For his Ornn support runes, this Glacial page is his favourite, and the most interesting part to me is Ghost Poro, which he thinks is very strong and underrated. After your ward dies, it spawns, and even after the Poro dies, it gives you a lot of lingering vision, so even after the enemies kill it, they can still be seen, giving you extra information inside Fog of War that enemies won't know you have. Also taking attack speed as well to make his Brittle easier to proc in lane. Zoltra has a Twitch, link is in the description if you want to see more Ornn. If you love off-meta supports like this, and want to see some more cool tricks, then check out our Anivia support video to learn about this other player's crazy story. And thanks again to Porofessor for sponsoring this video. I love the app, I find it really useful, so make sure you download it from the link in the description. Thanks so much for watching.
If I ever have to go to military, bro, I am chicken maxing. I am chicken maxing. 20 Big Macs a day until I'm fucking 200 kilograms. Try Korean BBQ. Bro, I had such a long talk about food yesterday on Sanchovi's stream. Sanchovis doesn't understand that the food that makes me happy is so simple. You just give me a carrot, you give me a sandwich, you give me like some carrot cake, and I'm happy, right? He has to like go around, try new food every day, eat different shit. Meanwhile, I eat same every day pretty much, and I'm happy. It's okay to find the happiness in simple things in life, you know? Bro, carrots are OP. I've been like for the past like the past week, I'm eating 2 carrots a day. Like 2 carrots a day. Carrots are so nice. It's 0 effort, they are so tasty, and they are so good for you. I've been eating 2 carrots a day. Not even cooked, just raw carrots. I just grab a carrot, I wash it, and then like a horse. Yes! They are so good for no reason, bro! Best vegetable, by far! They taste so good for no reason. It's like blueberries, you know? Blueberries are like a fruit. They taste so fucking good. No, I don't peel them, why? No, for some reason I just prefer unpeeled raw one. Like I could dig one from the fucking ground and then just wash it a bit, and then I would be happy. Also, Nafiri action ban. It's fine, Camille open. What happened?
All in good time. The way is always the same.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift. "30 seconds until minions spawn."
Already there. Inevitably.
Minions have spawned.
Yes. Wasted. Inevitably. Already there.
I must erase everything. Audience demands it.
Inevitably. Make haste.
First blood. An enemy has been slain. Double kill.
The way is always the same.
An enemy has been slain. An enemy has been slain.
Time is wasted. Already there. Make haste.
This abyss, there is only you.
Inevitably. The way is always
An enemy has been slain. Shut down.
Already there.
An enemy has been slain.
Time is wasted. Make haste. Inevitably.
You have been slain.
This is the road to
Yes.
Killing spree. An enemy has been slain. Double kill. Your team has destroyed a turret.
Is wasted. Make haste.
An enemy has been slain. Double kill. Killing spree.
Inevitably. Already there.
You have slain an enemy. Turret plating will soon fall.
Yes.
You have been slain. You have slain an enemy. Rampage. Shut down.
Make haste. way is always the same. Already.
Killing spree. An enemy has been slain.
All in good time.
Unstoppable. Your team has destroyed a turret. Your team has destroyed a turret. Your team has destroyed a turret. Dominating.
Time is wasted.
Killing spree. Rampage. Your team has destroyed a turret. An enemy has been slain. Shut down. Unstoppable.
All in good time. Already there.
Rampage. An ally has been slain. Shut down. has been slain. Shut down. Your team has destroyed an inhibitor. Enemy killing spree. Your team has destroyed a turret.
Inevitably.
An enemy has been slain.
Already there.
Shut down.
Make haste.
Dominating. Shut down. Double kill.
This is but a frightening opportunity.
Shut down. You have slain an enemy. Shut down. An ally has been slain.
Yes.
An enemy has been slain. An enemy has been slain. Double kill. An enemy is dominating. The enemy's inhibitor is respawning soon. destroyed. Your team has destroyed a turret. An enemy has been slain.
Already there.
Shut down. An enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain. Enemy double kill. Double kill. An enemy has been slain. Double kill. Aced.
Fall in good time. Inevitably. Time is wasted.
You fear erasure, but that's why I chose you.
An enemy has been slain. Killing spree. An enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain. Killing spree. Double kill. Aced. Your team has destroyed an inhibitor. Your team has destroyed a turret. Shut down. Your team has destroyed an inhibitor. Your team has destroyed a turret. An enemy has been slain. Enemy double kill. Shut down. Unstoppable. An ally has been slain. Your team has destroyed a turret.
Time is wasted. Make haste.
happened, you had 1k LP almost. I'm just practicing, like, I play really hard to limited. Go watch any of my games, I'll be 10-0, I'll just troll and throw a shutdown, just so I can learn. Because LP right now, it doesn't matter, this account is gonna go to Diamond anyway when I go to Korea for 2 months. So it's like, what's the... He banned Nafiri! I made him ban Nafiri! No, I'm not playing. Kane is so shit right now, and next patch borderline unplayable. Bro, I don't even know what I wanna play. I need a champion that is good into Eloy. Let's test Kale. I know why he banned Nafiri. It's not like I would pick it into fucking Eloy anyway. Bro, this guy is such a flipper, this Eloy guy. I played versus him. I played Vayne into him. I completely demolished him. And then he just... I am joking! I'm calling him. Oh my god. Wait, it wasn't him. It's some other guy.
Hello.
Hello, Jokil. I'm sorry, I didn't say I would give you top gladly versus, like... This guy is such an animal. Have you played versus him? Yeah,
Lawi?
Yeah.
I don't think I play like... Maybe. There's one Lawi guy who plays like such a monkey. He just perma dies. Perma runs in and eventually it works. He gets a kill.
Oh yeah, this guy plays the same, yeah. He'll just sit... That's why I picked Kale, because it's like the only champion that can side against it. Okay, it's fine. I thought you dodge if you're not top.
No, I think this matchup is fine.
Okay, I believe it. It's out of field Casio, jungle player.
Surely I can't lose.
How is Jace practice going? Are you winning?
I think I am, what, like 55% win rate?
Why don't you go
And
Duskblade?
I don't know. I've just been going the... I used to go Eclipse, I've just kept on going Eclipse.
Fair enough. I mean, Duskblade is gonna get killed anyway soon. Probably. I'll go AD build this game, by the way, because we have Elise, Kai'Sa and everything. I'll go like Manamune, so I'll be really useless before level like 13, yeah? But this guy is like noob anyway, so I should survive.